of my proximity to them. It is what it is. I'm just waiting for the Sharks to get back into the playoffs. I've, watched their games and it is pretty ugly. But the Leafs, again, just I have a secondary interest in them. And my goodness, I think I texted this to my good friend Daddy Padre, follows hockey more than anyone I know, and I was like, I'm gonna read the text verbatim. I said, this squad has to be one of the worst big game performers in North American pro sports history. No? Like, what an ass kicking. He said, yes, clinical, gonna make for a fun summer. Couldn't agree more. Like, 10 years of getting into the playoffs and having good teams. There's a quote in Moneyball, one of my favorite sports movies. It's not really in Moneyball, but it's kind of something that Billy Beane has talked about. Um, the job of a GM is to get your team into the playoffs, and once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. And in pro sports, because if you look at hockey as a whole, it is the worst sport statistically to gamble on because the best team in the league, a good winning percentage against the worst team in the league is like 60%. And on any given night, because of how random hockey is, you can see the Sharks or the Blackhawks or the Ducks take down the Jets and the Panthers. And, it's crazy. Whereas in other sports, it's usually the best team wins almost, 70, 80% of the time. Maybe not in baseball, but that's just because of the longevity of the season. That being said, in hockey, you would think that at some point the bounces would just go their way at some point. But games 5 and 7, watching them in front of their home crowd, Craig Berube had a comment that I thought it's being reported, but I feel like it'll be highlighted more as the post-mortem of the team. And he said simply, what happened in game 6, 5, and 7? And he goes, it's between the ears. And we have enough of a sample size where it's not soft. It's like fear or, not willingness to make the aggressive play because of I don't want to mess up in this big game. That's what it feels like. You watch all of like Morgan Riley's breakouts or just the whole team in general in that first 10. It was ugly. I don't want to do a whole 20 minutes on the Leafs, but after watching the Sharks for 20 years and them doing well in the play, there was always they're chokers because they don't win the Stanley Cup. But if you go back and look at the performance of the Sharks over the 15-year span where they made the playoffs 14 times, they made the conference final like 4 times, the Stanley Cup once, but they rarely got knocked out in the first round. I think it's 3 out of 15 they got knocked out in the first round, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, right? And it's just it's different. The Leafs. Good news is that no matter what, it is different. I think Marner is gone. I think Shanahan is gone, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, sorry. I apologize. Back to what are you doing with each overall right now? I might come out with a video touching on this because I've been playing the game so much more recently. I've just gotten so much into it. When you have a goal, I feel like, let me know if I'm way off base here. But when it comes to video games, I feel like too often we're playing it just because we feel like we need to play it. When you give yourself a goal of any kind in a video game, it gives you so much more interest. So whether it's a new card, I'll be perfect example. Fantasy cards come out for round 1. Even if you were a casual player still, it like forced you to come back on and like participate or at least piqued your interest, right? When you have like a goal, mine is now no money spent. It's time to hit Division 1, and I'm doing all the things that I know just from my experience playing the game that I need to do in terms of things to practice and things to focus on, and I'm having a lot more fun doing that. So by that, I'm trying to improve my team, which I did quite a bit, and I'll have a video going over that this week, a couple actually, for no money spent. Now, when it comes to what overalls I'm using, because I traded in my whole collection, 85s essentially, 85s and 86s, the only thing you could save them for, if you don't have Macklin Celebrini or Lane Hudson or Dustin Wolf, I guess, is their next gen cards, and you don't have any interest in upgrading them, let's say, 85s and 86s, you are probably best set with holding on to them for the fantasy cards. If they do around 3 and 4, and I don't see why they wouldn't. Now, I don't know if the value will be there because if they start at 93 again, they've only got 2 rounds. The odds of a new player coming out and scoring 6 goals in 2 rounds is pretty rough, unless their idea is like Draisaitl and I'm trying to think of something, Rantanen for the Stars, like the big dogs. I think that would be interesting. or if they make them like 96 overalls or 95 overalls and it's defensemen, so they have to score twice, that'd be interesting. But 85s and 86s, I believe, could be used for that. And then obviously 87s are used for the events. And I think the next event will tick up, meaning that instead of 87s being the barrier of entry, it'll be 88s. And I think that they're just going to continue that trend. But what I did when it comes to like anything below that, you could throw them into that new exchange set where you can hope for an 86 or an 87. Not good value, but if you've got 87s, at least you can use them. In all honesty, 85s and 86s, I would just hold on to. And then 84s and below, if they're tradable, I would probably sell them. If they're untradeable, I would throw them into the exchange set and hope for an 87. That's probably the plan. All right, let's back up to the other questions here. So Lift says they should merge icons and team builders into one and make the MSP icons the captain cards so that you can create theme teams of the icons as you go through the year grinding the team building. You should merge the icons and the team builders into one and make the MSP icons the captain cards. I think the one thing that NHL does well is the events every 2 weeks, right? I think that actually is a pretty good thing. It heightens the it keeps the interest of the player base, even if they're not good, but you at least come and check it out for a little while. But they do need to just completely tear down, content, make programs or these big collections something new. The formula is just so bland now. Slaves, I thought I'd commented on a video a while ago, but I couldn't find it. Been watching for a hot minute now and finally got back into NHL after not playing since 2016. I was wondering if it's even worth picking up 25 just to familiarize myself before next year's games come out, or is it not worth it? It's an interesting question because obviously the joke would be, no, LOL, game's dead, don't worry about it. The thing is, NHL 25, if you haven't played since NHL 16, this game over the last 3 years has seen the biggest change in gameplay. I don't mean that in a good way, by the way. I think that it's change, and a lot of people might enjoy it. A lot of people might not enjoy it. It's very arcadey. But if you went back and played NHL 16, I don't even think you have the defensive skill stick. So holding down R1 to hold out the skill stick, which is one of the biggest parts of the game. And I don't believe that you've got, obviously you don't have the D2D one-timers with the green beam, and you don't have total controls and all of that stuff, and the full pressure system. I would definitely pick it up and play a little while, and familiarize yourself at least with the basics, because the gameplay is far different, way different. Shots on goal and puck protection are the most important. I posed the question to you guys talking about Division 1, and what do you think is the most important thing outside of the L2 glitch that you need to do to make Division 1 in this game? And the amount of people that said patience. It's so funny, and it's clear as day. And shots on goal and puck protection are, like, maybe not shots on goal, but puck protection is 100% what we're referring to when we mean patience. The amount of times that you're in the offensive zone, if you were to watch your games back, and I do this a ton, when I am not locked in and I'm not focusing and I'm, playing like my 7th game in a row, things like that. I got to be honest with you, like, the first thing that goes is my patience. And if you watch in the offensive zone, you get in there, you make a cut or two, you look for a forced pass back to the point for a one-timer or on the opposite side, or you curl right to the net, and that's it. The problem is if your opponent hasn't really given you one of those lanes, you're just trying to move. Like, I guess it would boil down to this. Once you get into the offensive zone, stop skating. Not entirely, but really, really lighten up on where you're moving, and then you wait for your opponent to pressure you and let them dictate where you go, as opposed to you trying to dictate where they go. Because what ends up happening is usually, you force a shot that's blocked or intercepted, something you're not seeing, and it's just awfully tough in that case. Slaves, got a D-related question. I've got an insane right defense to the extent I don't know how to format my team. I've got team of the season Fox, Makar, Montour, Cornerstones, Weber for left defense. I have power up Orr and warp speed Sanderson. I'm going to make closers Hedman. Just wondering which of those 6 you would bench. Ooh, well, 3 lefties, 3 righties. This is not a year where you want to have guys on your forehand. Team of the season Fox, Makar, Montour. Montour I would keep in. Cornerstones Weber with truculence I would keep in. Or I would bench, and I would keep Sanderson, Hedman. That's, man. I can't remember lefty righties. I'm really bad for lefty righties. I know Fox is a righty. I would bench him for sure. I would rather have McCarr. I'd rather have Weber. And for lefty, I have power up Orr and warp speed Sanderson. I would bench. You got to bench a righty. I bench Fox for sure. That would be who I'd take out. Loving the videos. How often and where do you use the protect the puck button? Seems I'm never using it. Thanks. So they changed this last year when Total Controls came out, where puck protect used to be A. So you would do the thing where like you're skating and you'll basically lean away and hold the puck away. They changed that to clicking in the right stick while you're skating. Very awkward, but it actually is better because you don't take your hand off of the other buttons. Like your right hand can stay on your stick as opposed to when you have to hit A, right? Like what it used to be. I don't use it nearly enough. It is required for the L2 glitch to back skate because you have to use the protect puck. Honestly, the best way to protect the puck is using the right stick and holding the puck forehand or backhand away from your opponent. Okay, so whether that's the forehand or backhand, you use the right stick and you move away from holding the puck out. That's the best way to protect. EA really needs to strike a deal with the KHL and NCAA to allow them to use players who have been drafted in this year's draft. That is not up to. I think that has, well, the KHL is never going to happen because I don't know if it'd be geopolitically, but like they were in the game, and I don't know if it's like an NHL, and I'm assuming both leagues probably don't want to have any association with each other. That's what I feel because they're very like they don't coexist well. The NCAA is interesting because collegiate football, they basically paid every player in the league $500 for their likeness. And that was actually, it looked like that would be an issue because players were like rejecting that. However, players came to their sense because there's only like about maybe, I don't know, maybe 100 players that could really ask for more when it comes to like all of, Division I football. Hockey players, I don't know what the cost of that is. Like you got to think like EA just lost billions of dollars. Okay. All the guys that own yachts got off their yachts and they're laying off people and they're cutting the fat and all of that. And I don't know how they would, I think it'd be sick if they got the likeness for NCAA. Hockey needs it more than, well, it needs it a ton. Like, because the best players in the draft, the most exciting new players, a lot of them are NCAA players. So I agree about the NCAA. That they need to fix for sure. I'm not a Division I player, but being patient and not allowing odd man rushes or breakaways has helped me grow my game. Defending the slot and not going for a lot of body checks helps me cover more ice. I must agree 100%, like you mentioned before, Sleeves, how you play in front of the goalie changes a lot of the outcome you play. Might not win them all, but they are closer games than 5-1. Yeah, so what he's referring to in my last No Money Spent video, I went over one of the games I had, and I showed how a turnover that I made in the offensive zone was legitimately the reason. I have a piece of hair. There we go. Was a reason as to why I gave up a goal. And no one really wants to go back and watch their gameplay. Like if you really want to get good at the game, I think you need to go through a game cycle where you do watch some of your gameplay. And what I would say is this: if you watch the replay in game, so you click on the goal and you find it in the action center, and it shows like the 6 seconds before the puck goes in, that is rarely ever where the goal started. It usually happens way up the ice. And if you can eliminate a lot of the stuff that you yourself cause, you will give up less goals. Like you just will. And I show it in one of my videos perfectly where I send a pass across trying to force a one-timer way up the ice on a 2-on-2, and it legitimately led to a rush and a goal the other way. Not going for body checks. I find it's a very delicate balance. And you get a good player who's very aggressive and knows how to be aggressive, it's very difficult. But the problem is when you get to be better at reverse checks, which I also talked about in my last video, reverse checks in this game, I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't even want to say it's overpowered. It's obnoxious. And I feel like it's because there is a little bit of a skill gap. It's only hitting one button, but you lose possession of the puck. And a lot of players can't don't have the capacity to do multiple things at once. You're trying to read the play, you're trying to read the passing, maybe you're L2ing, trying to mohawk a little bit, and then at the last second, right before you're about to get hit, your all of your instincts are like, hey, I need to get away from this player. It's not lean into it and hit A and get a reverse hit, because you technically lose possession. The players that get good at reverse checking, it is 100% the reason why I was able to gain 100 Rivals points and get up to my highest Rivals ranking in a week, simply because I started doing that on almost every time I got challenged. So when you get someone who is just going for body checks in this game, it's even more damning. You have to have a delicate balance of putting pressure on them and then kind of chilling and relaxing. Anthony says, yep, you're right. I'm one of the guys who spends thousands on this game when the content is on point. I spent $2,600 last year and I had no regrets. This year I'm at about 13 or 14. I'm not going to spend $1 more unless they surprise me with content I cannot refuse. Unfortunately, they keep missing the boat. 93 warp speed items isn't going to cut it. They had they released 96 or 95 overall warp speed items, I'd probably spend quite a bit to get them. They also, in my opinion, devalued cards by releasing synergies that have more than one, by not releasing synergies that have more than one multiplier. Where are the 2 and 3 synergy points? NHL 24 Team of the Years had 3 on all synergies. Big point. NHL 25 only has 1. Lame. Also, in my opinion, there should be always be a content item available for purchase in the auction house. They've done slightly better this year, like the 99 Ovi, 99 Flurry, but every week there should be an S tier content available for purchase. That's my 2 cents. Thanks for the great content, Saves. Brother, you are in the definite minority of the content or of the player base, because, okay, first of all, I want to address this. My man has spent a lot of money in this game, and one of the first replies, 2,600 on Hut, is a wake-up call. If you have disposable income, and this is where you spend your hobby the most, like if you work a lot, you got a family and all that, and you get a couple hours a day or a week to play, and you can't keep up with all of the stuff and doing the chores and whatnot, spend as much money that you have comfortably, and that's completely okay. It's a little annoying because obviously EA is, the more people that do that, the less EA is like, oh, we need to change, right? So like that's obviously a bit of an issue. I'll never judge anyone for using their disposable income, but it's the people and the gambling part of this game where it's people that don't have disposable income that feel the need to spend $1,000, and then they see everyone open up packs and they're like, oh, I gotta open up more packs. So that's where I kind of try to highlight these are not good packs, even if you were to spend money, which is what early on NHL had. It was terrible. The packs that you could buy weren't even good. In terms of S tier cards every week available for purchase, that's a dangerous game, man, because you do enter the pay to win format. At the end of the game, it doesn't matter. Like right now, like that Sile Apps card, like that was actually interesting. Not people because they actually want to use the player, but because he was like very good, and people were like, okay, I'll spend my coins on him. Spending $50 on a card, unless it's 99s across the board, like there's no way, and even that would be tough. Like, I don't know. There's things I do agree with in this. I think there should always be a decent card available for sure, like the exclusive one that you can get via coins. And I think they have done an okay job at it. But it'd be cool if there was just more card art, I think. It's tough with just the headshots. Fantasy cards at 99 should get free abilities when they score the next goal. Fantasy cards 100% at 99 should get their endurance jumped up for sure, and abilities. I think that if you shoot your shot and you get a fantasy card at 99, you should get rewarded. I also think that they should spend then resources to get card art for the players that hit 99. I've said this a lot. This year, content has been rough, but the one thing that they have done very well is the fantasy events and the fantasy releases. They've done that more than any other content team that we've had since fantasy cards became a thing, and they've done it far better than all of the previous content teams. I think they need to lean into that more. So I think that every fantasy card that you release, once it hit 99, the next patch where you put in the new card art for master events, have someone commissioned to make the fantasy card have master set art. 100%, because I think it just adds so much better of a look, and there's no difference between a master set player item and the normal fantasy cards that came out. In fact, a lot of them were terrible. A lot of the master set players, the only thing that was different this year, which was a good change, was the fact that they had card art. Other than that, they need to fix that. But I do agree they should have free abilities for sure, 100%. Hey, Sleeves, I've heard EA has been laying off a lot of people and recently announced there will be no more remote employees. Everyone needs to be back in office. Do you think that this will have any impact on NHL content or quality of the game? Okay. One of the replies is 100% will improve. Remote employees on average are super inefficient. So, when it comes to my wife is a remote employee, and her office now started like bringing people back into the office. As someone who worked, I've never worked from remote from home when I was, in the corporate world, and 100%. Like there's your quality of life, so maybe your motivation to go to work is higher because it's not as stressful. You get to just do it from home, 100%. But your actual effectiveness, I think, for sure goes down. There's arguments on both sides. When it comes to the EA layoffs, I know they have laid off. I don't know how many people at EA NHL, but I know that there was layoffs and it did hit some of the people at EA NHL. I think that for the video game industry, it is awfully tough to do a. I remember this during COVID. One of the developers that used to work for ENHL, I had a very close relationship with, and he said that one of the things that they struggled with when developing the game for ENHL was that when you have like not so much the people that work on the perimeter, so like the community side or marketing or anything like that, but I'm talking about the coders. When the coders can't get up and then go and talk to someone for 7 seconds or 7 minutes to then shoot stuff back and forth and then try and implement those ideas, and you've got to set up a scheduled Zoom call to do it, that's where you see the major improvement in terms of time when you work in office. In video games, it is, I don't want to say it's necessary, but it's close to it. It's got to be one of the highest in industries that require in office roles. And if that means losing some effective people that work remote, that's really tough. I think that the one thing that has worried me a lot is that a lot of my favorite developers, and not because just they spoke to me, but they are the ones that you could tell care. And I'm not saying that all EA, NHL developers don't care. That's silly. No one goes into work and says, I want to make a bad game. No one wants to do that. No one says that. But I'm thinking, like, when it comes to the people that go above and beyond and they have a real passion for it, like they take their work home, you need a few of those employees, especially when you're making a product like a video game that so many people consume to an insane level, and a lot of those people are no longer there. And now that doesn't mean that there isn't anyone there that works like that. It's just I haven't interacted with a lot of people that are like that, where they are double checking, triple checking their work, reaching out to people or consuming content to find out, like, is this what the player base likes before releasing it? Like, that's what I think. I think that the new content team, what a lot of they've done is like, they have some ideas, let's try it, see what happens. And that's a fine way to go about it, but not when you're dealing with people that spend real money or real time to get the content. So interesting topic there, but that's going to do it for today's episode of Who Should You Choose. Let me know. I'm excited to hear back from you guys as we're back to 5 days a week, hopefully. So thank you guys again for watching. See you next episode.